everyone, I'm Allie Buchman with the Potomac Bead Company, and today I'm going to make this bracelet with you, and it is going to be called the Morningstar Bracelet. The cool thing about this bracelet is it gets to feature one of the newest beads, which this bead here is the EOS, and the EOS is going to be similar to a two-hole bar or a two-hole brick or a ruler, that it has that kind of squared shape with the two holes, one at the top and one at the bottom. When you're looking at them, it is going to differ from a ruler because it's not rounded the whole way around, and it differs from a brick because it's rounded at the edges. So that's kind of the difference in the size and the shape. Also, it does have a little indentation in the middle of it, and that can affect the design as well. In addition to those, I'm going to be using the Potomac Bead Company RounTrios. Here in the design example, I use the smooth RounTrios. With you today, I'll be using the faceted RounTrios. If you need any of the materials to do this Morningstar bracelet, on the left-hand side here, we'll do a little drop down with links to the materials. If you happen to be on an iPhone or a mobile, you may not be able to get that pop up on the side. Right underneath the video for any of you, you can go to the description of the video, which the description of the video is always going to list what the video is about, and then if you hit the kind of show more or the down arrow buttons, you'll actually get a list drop down for all of the products as well. So for the project itself, it's only going to be using 3 different bead types. The bead type that it's going to be using is that ESO, and it has that, again, that kind of rectangular shape. I'm going to be using it in the Aztec gold color. In addition to that, I have our RounTrio, which here is that vintage copper color. In the smooth RounTrio, I'm going to be using the faceted RounTrio in the turquoise Picasso. Other than that, the only other bead that we're going to be using is a 15-0. I'm using Miyuki 15-0 in the crystal Labrador color, which is a cooperative coating that the beads are actually Miyuki, and then the coating is done in the Czech Republic in that nice bright silver. To close off the whole bracelet, I'm going to be using a cup button, and this is actually the white blue luster cup button, which matches really well with that turquoise Picasso faceted RounTrio, so we'll kind of bring it all together with that. To hold the whole bracelet together, I'm using 0.006 wildfire beading thread in my favorite color, which is the green color. You're going to use about 5 to 7 feet of that depending on the size of your wrist. In addition to the wildfire, to go through the needle or to go through the beads, I know some of you aren't crazy about them, but it's going to be way easier to do the project with 2 needles. So 2 needles for this project that we're using, 2 at one time. The nice thing with 2 at one time, for those of you that kind of aren't crazy about 2 at one time, you do get to put on your clasp right away and work back and forth with the clasp, getting it done and on. So you will need 2 size 10 or size 12 needles. It's up to you which size you would prefer. Always handy, I also like to have a thread zap or a thread zap ultra or a cord cutter, some sort of a thread burner to help cut the thread off my actual spool, as well as burn down the edges of the thread at the very end, kind of creating and causing a stop. At the same kind of side little area here next to my bead mat, I have my pliers, and I like the needle nose or the flat nose pliers. These happen to be a bent nose pliers to flatten out the end of the thread, which is going to make it much easier for you to string and thread your needle. If you do like to glue and like to glue your knot, I use super new glue to get the ends of the knot there glued together. To get started, we are going to be using all the beads to start, so you're not going to be adding kind of any in on the second round. The second round, we are actually just going to be doing seed beads. So this project goes up and comes on back the design. To go up, like I said, we're going to be using some of each, and we're actually going to start with our clasp. Go ahead and take your thread here, 0.006 wildfire thread, and you want to do about 5 feet and put 1 needle on each end of that 5-foot piece of thread. So again, to start, we have our 2 needles on, 1 needle on each end of a 5-foot piece of thread. To get started, we're actually going to begin by putting on our button. Go ahead and pick up with your right needle on your left needle, doesn't matter, 4 of your 15-0 seed beads. Picking up both needles then, go ahead and put on your cup button so that it is facing downward, and that 1 needle is going through the hole on the right and one needle is going through the hole on the left. If you do want to use a clasp, one of the Easy Elegance or Clasp Garden or anything like that, you can actually go ahead and put a wire protector on here and slide your clasp on at this point. Go ahead then and push your beads down to the base right here, and you'll notice that those beads then just add a nice little silver kind of accent in between the cup button. Coming out of the cup button then, I am going to separate my needles and put on 3 of my 11 or 15 O's on the right needle and 3 on the left. Once I have 3 on the right and on the left, I'm going to go ahead and drop on one of my EOs here. To put that on, I'm going to go one needle through one hole and one needle through the other, and let that all drop down next to my button. At this point, you want to make sure also that your threads are even. So you want to make sure that on each end and each thread, you have the exact same amount, because sometimes they can shift as you're working with them. Once you have those on, we're actually going to go in and create our design. So the design is very, very simple. And just after you get the first one on, it continue the exact same way. To start, we're going to be adding 2 15-0 seed beads on our right and on our left needle, and let that fall. Once those 2 beads are on, we are going to grab with our right needle another one of our EOS and a 15-0 seed bead and another EOS. With the left needle, I'm going to go through those same beads in the opposite direction. So with my thread exiting on this side, on the right hand side, I want this thread to exit on the left hand side. So I'm basically crisscrossing through those 2 beads. What that's going to do is create a little V, almost like a herringbone style. On the sides of each of these, go ahead and add 2 seed beads and go through the top hole. When you're working with more than one needle, generally speaking, everything is a mirror image. So anything you do with the right needle, you're also going to do with the left needle. That's true for this entire bracelet. The 2 beads on the sides are just going to decorate the sides and actually prevent you from seeing the thread on the side of this EOS bead there. Once you're coming out of that little V section, it's time to put on our first round trio. If you're unfamiliar with the round trios, they are a 3-holed 6mm round bead. We are going to be using all 3 holes. To start out, we're going to take our right needle and our left needle and crisscross through one of the bottom holes of the round trio. So one needle is going to go from left to right, and one is going to go from right to left. When I pull that down nice and tightly, it's going to sit right in that little opening that you created. With your right needle then, go ahead up to from the first hole to the second hole in that round trio. And same thing with the left needle. So I'm going from hole number 1 to hole number 2 with both needles. When my thread is exiting hole number 2, that's when we're going to put this little kind of V-shaped and that extra EOS in there. To do so, with the right or the left needle, pick up 2 seed beads, 1 more of those EOS, and then 2 more seed beads. I happen to be holding the right needle here, and it's coming out the right side. What I'm going to do after I put those 5 beads on is go from the right side to the left side through the same hole. Give a nice tight pull to create that little kind of V effect. You see right there. On the sides, this EOS will kind of flop back and forth. Don't worry about it. When we get ready to connect it all, they'll start to cooperate and lay down. To get that right hand needle that's in the right hand is coming out the left hand side, to get it in place for the next step, I'm going to now step up from the middle hole, the second hole, to the third hole, and have that needle again exiting on the right hand side. With the left hand needle, we're going to repeat what we just did, adding on 5 beads, 2 seed beads, our bar, and 2 seed beads. Take the thread and needle back through the center hole, making sure when you exit that you're not exiting any of the other beads that we just put on. Give a nice tight pull to make sure that sits in a nice V, and then take the needle from the second hole and reverse it so it's coming out the left-hand side at the top hole. We're going to be doing this with every single round trio. When you're exiting the round trio, it's time to repeat the V pattern on the opposite side. To repeat the V pattern, you're going to add 1 more of your EOS, 2 more of your 15s, go back through the EOS towards the center through the second hole, and give a nice tight pull. Grabbing my left needle, same thing, add an EOS, 2 15-0 seed beads, and sew through that second open hole of the EOS towards the middle. When you have that, you want to give a nice tight pull to get rid of any extra thread that you have showing. And again, I like to say when you are pulling, make sure that you're pulling your thread and not at your needle, because what will happen is you'll actually damage the thread right there where the needle is connected, or crossed over rather. Pick up a 15-0 with either the right or the left needle, and whichever needle you have in your hand, you want to cross over to the opposite side to that other EOS and go through it. The left hand needle here, I'll go back through that 15 that I just added, go through the EOS, so I'm crisscrossing through them, and come out the opposite side. Giving a nice tight pull then, you will get the same exact thing from the bottom to the top. To move on then and continue with the design, we're basically going to mirror what we did here at the start of the button. Onto our needle, 2 15s, an EOS, 2 15s on the right needle. On the left needle, go ahead and add 2 15s, the second hole of that same EOS, go through it, and then 2 more 15s. And let that all drop down. On this first design here, I did 2 different colors just so you could see where the actual pattern of that morning star started. With this one here, I'm going to do the whole thing in that Aztec gold. When you continue now, it's going to be the exact same step. So I'll do one more with you guys, adding again my round trio and going through all of the holes. So that way we make sure that we really get down this pattern, because this is the exact same thing the whole way through the bracelet. So ready to get started again on our next little morning star. We have our right and our left needle. To get started, we're going to add on our right needle an EOS, a 15, and an EOS, and let that drop down next to what we already have there. Sticking the right needle just kind of in on the side, take the left needle, go back through those 3 beads in the opposite direction so you make sure that your threads are ending on opposite sides. Give a nice pull to make sure that those EOS are sitting in the correct position. When I'm on the sides then, I'm going to go ahead and add 2 15-0s. Sew from the bottom hole to the top hole of that same EOS bead. When you're coming out the center there, if you want to, that same time you can add your round trio. Put that needle down. You can flip your project if you want to. It's kind of up to you, whatever is easiest. I thread the fastest with my right needle, so I tend to flip my project constantly so that way my needle is in my right hand. Go from the bottom hole to the top hole of that same EOS. Grab the round trio and sew through the first hole of that round trio, going from right to left in this case. Give a nice tight pull so your needle and thread are coming out of that round trio's base or first hole. With the needles then, I'm going to take my needle on my right hand side, sew through to the left hand side. Needle on the left side goes to the right, going from hole number 1 to hole number 2. Once you step up there to hole number 2, on goes your pattern of 2 15s, EOS, 2 15s. Sew from hole 2 back through hole 2 in the opposite direction. That's going to pop that little brick shape right there into the side. And I just play with it a tiny bit to make sure not a lot of extra thread is showing. While I have that needle in my hand, I'm going to go from hole number 2 to hole number 3 of the round trio and exit. With the needle that's on the left now, I'll pick that one up, add my 5 beads, this thread is exiting hole number 2, and it's going to go back into hole number 2 towards the right, making sure I'm not picking up any of the seed beads that I had added there. And then it's going to go from hole number 2, stepping up to hole number 3. You'll know you did it correctly if your threads are exiting opposite sides. Go ahead and give it a tug and get ready to do the mirrored V on the opposite side now of the round trio. To do the V with the right hand side or the right hand needle, EOS goes on, 2 15-0s go on, and sew from the top hole or the first hole to the second hole of the EOS. Give a tight pull. The opposite side, same thing. EOS goes on, 2 beads, go from the first hole to the second hole. As I go to that second hole, both of my threads are going to be exiting towards the middle of that bead right above the round trio. Grab a 15 with whatever needle you still have in your hand. And this one happens to be the needle coming from the left. I'm going to sew through the second hole of the EOS, going towards the right. Picking up then the needle that's on the opposite side, I'm going to catch that 15 that I just added and sew through the EOS coming out on the left. Give it a nice tight pull, and that pulls that V shape in on both sides. Again, to get started and get ready to do the next one, we're simply going to add 2 15s, the EOS, and 2 15s. I did that with the right needle, and then with the left needle, I add, to get that middle section, 2 15s, pick up the same EOS through the opposite hole, and 2 more 15s. And then it's basically, if you still need help, just putting the video on repeat and doing the exact same pattern here to get your next little section of your round trio. Like I said, don't worry if these are flipping. We'll get them laid out straight once we actually go in and connect to the second hole. You can see here on the little design piece, I was playing around with the idea of actually putting two and kind of separating and keeping a whole design. I actually didn't like the way that it was looking. I thought it was taking away from the star pattern, so that's why I ended up going with one. But if you like the look of two and kind of an opening, you can actually go with two on each side, but I did like that one, so that's why we backed up and kind of just did one bead right there in the middle of the little morning stars. Go ahead and continue with the design. You're going to look at doing about 7 to 8 of your morning stars depending on your wrist size, and once you're done that, we're going to come back together, try it on and kind of make sure that it fits, and then we'll get ready to put on your actual loop for your button. So I'm at the end of adding my round trios, and I have 7 here of my morning stars. If you have a traditional 7, 7¼ inch wrist, you are probably going to need to add an 1/8. For my wrist, which is 6 3/4, or I like to wear a 6 3/4 bracelet, I'm stopping here at 7. To get ready to do the clasp, I'm going to continue on as if I was getting ready to do an actual another little morning star there, or morning star rather. And I'm going to go ahead and put on one more of my EOS here with my 2 beads before and my 2 beads after, bringing them back into one and kind of finishing up that little design there. Coming out of those beads then, I am going to add 3 11/0s, or I'm sorry, 3 15/0s on my left needle, and on my right needle I'm going to add 2. With the needle then, I'm going to go through the third 15 here, the same direction that the thread is going already. And what that's going to do is create a little bit of a V. Anytime I have a clasp that I'm using like a button or something like that, I like to bring it back into one single bead so the loop is not as open at the ends. When it's not as open at the ends, then you reduce the risk for actually losing your bracelet. Once those are together, you can kind of just separate the needles. With one of your needles, you're going to go ahead and pick up approximately 34 or so of your 15/0s. At this point, we are going to be done with our little specialty beads, and all we're going to be using left are some of our 15/0s. So just picking up a bunch of those 15s with the right needle, dropping that back down, all of those beads there, and pick up some more. If you are using a clasp, like I said before, you'd add your wire guard and the other end of your clasp here as well. And once you've got your beads on, you make sure the loop size is going to be sufficient. I'm going to take this needle that's in my hand, go back through that shared 15/0 and back down the side of 2 of the side 15s. And then out. With the needle on the other side, I'm going to reinforce this loop by going through all of these seed beads a second time. If you want to also do a third time, you can. That's kind of up to you. Obviously, wherever the clasp is going to get the most tension, constantly putting it on and off. So that's where you want to have some reinforcement. As I'm finishing up this loop here, I'm going to bring the thread and needle back down through that shared bead and then off to the right since my other needle is off to the left. And out. Make sure my thread's not getting caught on any beads there. Give a pull then with your left needle and with your right needle, tightening up your loop. At this point too, you just want to make sure kind of to fit that the actual project is going to fit well on you, that the clasp size is good, and that it's ready to go. because at this point, we're not going to be changing the length of the bracelet whatsoever. It's always a good idea if you're making it for yourself to do kind of a little check there and make sure that the bracelet actually fits. Now we have a really simple task of adding in some seed beads and kind of connecting the sides. To add in the seed beads, we're going to be doing counts of 3 and counts of 4 and connecting to all the 15s that we already have kind of here on the sides. When I'm on the sides here of that EOS, we're going to add 3 of our seed beads, sew through the 2 seed beads on the opposite side of the EOS, sew through the 2 seed beads on the sides of the EOS, so we're sewing through 4 beads after adding 3, and that's just going to decorate that side there. Now to connect into the one that we added here on the side and to make that sit up and cooperate, go ahead and add 4 seed beads and sew through the second hole. When your thread and needle are coming out the second hole, then add 4 more. And we're going to sew through those 4 seed beads again. The 2 on this side, and then the 2 before. Once I'm coming out that side then of that EOS, go ahead and put on 3 15s. Gather them along my bead mat here. Skip over to the other side then, and grab onto the 4 beads over here on the other side. Once you have those 4 beads on the other side that you're through, you're going to add 4 more seed beads and go up to the open second hole. So you have your 4 more seed beads that go on, go up to the opening of the second hole, and continue adding your 4 beads to get to the second hole and your 3 beads to go around the side. I'm going to do a couple on the right hand side, and then I'll come down the left and switch up, rotating from right to left. So here at the end, after you have in all of your 15O seed beads and you have those nice morning stars created, what you're going to do is just use one of your threads in order to reinforce the clasp. To go through, I'm going to take my thread and my needle up through the 15Os, through the bar, through the 15s before the cup button, out through the cup button, and down through the cup button on the other side, going through those seed beads. Once you're down through the cup button on the other side, you're just going to end your thread right next to the other one here and tie a knot. So it's nice and easy, but it's important to go ahead and reinforce that loop. I always end up with a little bit less thread because I try to keep the thread in film and in frame for you guys. So if you have 5 feet, you should be good, 6 feet, 7 feet, in case you do have those extras to work with. But go ahead and reinforce that clasp. Bring the 2 thread ends right below that last little EOS, and we'll just tie off a knot. Once you're done burning down your thread ends and tying your knot, your bracelet is completed. It's a really cool little kind of quick project featuring the RounTrios and these new EOS beads, which come from France, and they were designed, they're called par puka, or for Puka, which is a designer, who created the bead. It's kind of a fun opportunity to get the beads from France. They're actually produced in the Czech Republic, but they are distributed in France. And fun to get them, play around, be one of the first people to play around, to feature them, and for us to have them as well available for you guys. Again, if you need any of these materials to do this Morningstar bracelet, you can go back to the beginning of the video to the little drop downs or to the bottom of the video underneath to the little description box. You can always also order those from me online at PotomacBeads.com or go to your local Potomac Bead Company store. You can also stay connected with us by subscribing to this YouTube channel. You can also suggest it for friends if you like getting regular updates on different projects that you can do, the new bead designs that we have, the things that we manufacture, and what's going on at Potomac Bead Company. You can also, in addition to visiting us at PotomacBeads.com, visit us on Facebook and join our Facebook group for beading and jewelry making. Share some ideas there, get advice, interact with other beaders, people that make all different types of wonderful jewelry, and are a wonderful community to talk to and interact with. As always, everyone, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully you get a chance to play around with these new EOS beads here out of France. They're EOS Parpuka, and play around with our RounTrios as well, creating this fun Morningstar bracelet. Thanks so much for watching, everybody, and have fun as always creating.